Well, I have a one where I don't know if I ever told you this one, Finn, but was probably back in 2004. There was a group of us went to Uzbekistan, and off we kind of trotted, and there was maybe I think there was like a futures, then a challenger, then a futures. It was something like that was the schedule. And anyone that's been to Uzbekistan, actually, Uzbekistan, as far as a country, doesn't have a whole lot happening, but they love their tennis. So they've got these big tennis facilities. And it was during the Challenger, there wasn't a hotel in the area. So we were all staying in this apartment. So like myself, Jamie Delgado, Arvin Palmer, David Sherwood, Johnny Murray, Mark Hilton. And we had like chickens in our apartment and all sorts that we were waking up to. But the semi-final day, me and Johnny Murray, we got up, we were in the semis of the doubles, and we started walking to the tennis center about a mile away. And there wasn't anybody on the road. And this is quite a busy town. And it was very eerie. It was like, oh, what is going on here? And we got to the center, and as we got to the center again, very few people there. All of the flags were down, and it was like, what is happening now? At the time, my now wife Vicky, who at the time was my girlfriend, she was working for BBC Five Live back in the UK as a journalist, broadcast journalist, and she was getting news that there was a civil war breaking out in that town, and we were being told that some prisoners had escaped from the local prison, which is why everything was very low key. Now, as it turned out, there was a civil war that was starting, and they put a blackout on all information back in the UK. But they were absolutely adamant that anybody from Britain, and it was semi-finals day, so there wasn't many people, had to be at the tennis club. So they went to our apartment, picked up the other players, picked up all of the bags, and they were also adamant that me and Johnny played the match, but without umpires, without ball kids, without anything. So we, in order, as you know, that extra $200, $300 is so important. If we pulled out of the match, we would have lost the money and lost the points. So we walked on court, lost in about 23 minutes because wanted to get out there. And then we then got locked in the tennis club, all of us. And that was kind of half of them were Davis Cup players. And we were then stuck there for about 36 hours. And just listening to just gunfire going off it was like fireworks. It was like in the distance. I can hear it now, feel it now. Completely petrified. LTA had kind of 24-hour surveillance on us and what was happening because we were quite high risk because a British hostage or a British tennis player as a hostage in this sort of situation would be a real asset. And then eventually the big Range Rovers appeared from the British Embassy to pick us up. And as we were leaving, there was gunfire going off, and we had our own guards looking after us. And we went for a five hour journey to get back to Tashkent, then put on an aeroplane to fly back to the UK. Now, what was amazing about that is like the Russian players and players from that part of the world, they were just like, no, we're going to play the next week. And I think the next week was a challenger. And I think the cut for the challenger was like 2000. And all that these crazy tennis players were thinking were, this is a great chance to get points. Like, don't matter. Our life is potentially disappearing before our eyes. But hey, if I get those extra 2 or 3 ATP points, and this is what the world of tennis tends to bring. And when we then eventually landed, it was one of the main stories on Sky News. So all of the Sky News cameras were there. It was didn't want to talk to me. They wanted to talk to Jamie Delgado, to Arvin Palmer. And and looking back now, it was some story, but it also now as a 44-year-old with a family, it's like, how do we get into this headspace where we almost feel that the opportunity cost of being there to get the points outweighs the potential cost of our lives or our welfare? And that is, for me, the reality of what this level of the sport brings.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, there's a lot of players that certainly risk their welfare or their health to go to certain countries to try and sort of chase points. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that is the harsh reality of of players at this level where we have to get points, otherwise we can't progress. But that's a hell of a story. I don't think I can top that one.